Hi guys, I'm Ryan Mack, aka Bule Bolang, and today I'm going to be running through with you some of the equipment that would be essential if you plan on climbing Mount Rinjani, some kit that will be non-essential, and I'm going to cover areas where you might want to use stuff like trekking poles and other areas where you potentially don't want to use them, because by using them you're going to open yourself up to potentially getting injured as opposed to avoiding injury. I'll start off the video also with a disclaimer that the education I'm about to provide you here is merely education, awareness, hints and tips of my experience of Mount Rinjani. This year alone I've done it 4 times and I have another one coming up in 3 weeks. I'm going to be helping the National Park of Indonesia, Mount Rinjani, Pakyarman and the local area on providing essential information so that you have more awareness on your trip. You know what the terrain is like, you know what the weather is like, you know what type of kit you should have, and it will hopefully make you more alert and aware on the mountain so that you can avoid accidents and enjoy your trip. So, starting off, we are going to cover essential items. Now, what is the difference between an essential item and a non-essential item? Essential item, in my perspective, in my definition of it, is an item which I don't believe you should go up the mountain unless you have it. Now, the essential items I'm just about to run through on this video, if you do not have some of them, that doesn't mean that you can't climb the mountain. That will be at the discretion of the guys who work at base camp, whether you can go up or not. Now, some of them, if you don't have the right shoes, personally, I probably wouldn't let you up, but like I said, it's not my choice, it's up to the guys at base camp. So now, I'm going to show you some examples of what I would recommend that you have and you wear, and some examples of that you should not have and not wear. Okay, so here we can see number 1, working our way down, is trekking boots / trail running shoes. I have some examples here. So here is one example of a trekking boot that you could use. Now this is a Silewa. This is a hard trekking boot, okay? This trekking boot is solid. It's not something that I would wear. I have worn it before. It wasn't really the best because it was so hard. However, it is a great shoe. The grip on them, as you can see, is fantastic. It is perfect for Mount Rinjani, really good grip, and I do recommend them. I would recommend more of a soft hiking boot, and that's just so you don't get blisters and rubbing on the back of your feet and so on. And I'm going to show you an example of one of them. So this one right here, excuse the mud on it, they are highly used. This is an example of a soft hiking boot, okay? You can see it's not hard, even the back of it's not hard. It's all nice and soft. They're just very comfortable. They offer ankle support. They're very easy to get on and off. This is Gore-Tex, fairly waterproof unless you submerge your feet. All round a good boot. You can see now this tread is actually not good enough for Rinjani, so that's a good example right there. That's not good enough. However, these are highly worn boots, so obviously the tread is down. Previously, they would have had a good tread on them, okay? And these are what I would prefer to use on Mount Rinjani because it's soft, good grip, and you have the ankle support. Another shoe that you could potentially use is the likes of a trail running shoe, okay? These are absolutely fine. However, you have to be aware and you must accept the risk that you do not have ankle support, okay? That is on you if you choose to wear them. The grip is sufficient and it is perfectly fine to wear these, okay? Especially with the laces as well. Good, strong, solid laces, these are fine. Here is another type of trail running shoe which I would not recommend on wearing in Mount Rinjani. As you can see, I have barely wore these. I only wear them in the gym. The tread is not good enough at all for Mount Rinjani. Also, the laces, these tend to snap very easily. So if you're on the mountain and this snaps, you are going to have a pretty horrible couple of days on your trek. All right, so I wouldn't recommend like this. The style, yes, but with these type of laces, no. And with this type of grip, no, I would not recommend. Next up is the Vibram barefoot shoe. You don't have to wear Vibram if you have a canoe shoe, a kayak shoe, it's perfectly fine. I use these for going swimming in the hot volcanic springs because sometimes the rock can be sharp and you can get a lot of pain in your feet, and these avoid you hurting yourself in the hot volcanic springs, okay? Nighttime, the one and only flip-flop. Now, I always use flip-flops. After you're trekking, your feet get hot, they get sweaty, they get wet, which then means your skin is soft, and then you are more likely to have broken skin, get heat spots, get blisters, and so on. So I always, the minute I get to a campsite, I always take my shoes off, I get my flip-flops on right away, and I air my feet out and I dry them. This here is what I would class as a non-essential item. So a non-essential item is something that you do not need this to go to the mountain. However, if you have it, it will make your life a lot more comfortable, okay? These are Goose Down North Face slippers. It doesn't have to be North Face, it can be any brand that you like, but these are Goose Down slippers. At night time, your feet will be freezing. So if your boots get wet during the day, then you're gonna have to wear wet boots or wear flip-flops at night when your feet are freezing cold. This is gonna make you avoid that and make your life so much nicer. For trekking Mount Rinjani, just your typical style of trekking trousers, okay? Normal trekking trousers. I see plenty of people wearing shorts up the mountain. There is nothing wrong with wearing shorts from base camp up to maximum camp 1. However, you must know that camp 1 gets absolutely freezing, and I mean freezing at night. So does the summit, blistering cold. So you need a pair of trousers at minimum, okay? I recommend trousers all the time. I never wear shorts up the mountain, but each to their own. You can wear what you like, but that is a simple form of trekking trousers. You may think I'm teaching you to suck eggs, but many people have no idea what trekking trousers are or what trekking boots are. So I'm saying this for anyone who doesn't know, all right? Now, when it comes to clothing on the top part, you can wear a t-shirt. Many people do, it's perfectly fine. From base camp up to camp 1, it's still perfectly warm weather. You could be looking at around anywhere from kind of 26 to 30 degrees. When you get to kind of post 3, post 4, campsite 1, it can get down to, you know, the 15 degrees and even down to 10 degrees and lower, okay? So at that point, you then have to put on warmer gear, which we are going to cover. Now, when you're down at the warmer areas, many people like to wear a t-shirt thinking that that's going to keep them cool, okay? I would suggest that wearing a long sleeve is actually better for keeping you cool, and I'll show you some examples. This type of top here is absolutely perfect, excuse me that. So this here is a list of the items you can need if you want to pause the video and zoom in and have a look. But this type of top here is absolutely perfect. Long sleeve top, nice and thin. You're not going to be too warm. Now, it also has a hood cover for stopping back of your ears, your neck and your face from burning, all right? Now, the reason why I prefer long sleeve clothes, trousers and the top, even when I'm in the hot areas, the reason for that is when you wear a t-shirt and you get hot and sweaty, the sweat evaporates, which of course then makes you cool. However, it's just a constant evaporation, which keeps you cool. And you're going to dehydrate much quicker and your skin is going to get burnt. If you wear a long sleeve top like this, a nice thin top, what happens is the top gets wet and the top remains wet far longer than your skin remains wet. So the water vapor will still evaporate, but it will take longer to evaporate and it will keep you much, much cooler on your trek by having a long sleeve top rather than a short sleeve top, okay? So some people think wearing long sleeve in the hot weather is gonna make you hotter. That is actually false. It will make you cooler because the top will become wet, it will evaporate, and you will actually lose body heat 33 times faster than if you have your skin. This here is just another example of the type of top you can wear, and this one comes with a face mask as well, okay? So you can actually pull this up over your face, and that's just a really useful top to have, all right? It's not essential. These are just simply ideas of what type of tops you can wear, all right? When it comes to clothes to wear, this here is what I would deem as a small warm jacket. This one is Goose Down. I know there are some people out there, maybe they're vegan, etc., or against animal clothing, that don't want to use Goose Down. That's perfectly fine. I just love it because there is no synthetics on the planet which give you the same heat that these provide. They just don't. I'm sorry, but they don't. This is what I would call a small Goose Down jacket. This is a light one, okay? This is perfect for sitting around Camp 1, and if you are stopping, going on your summit attempt, you do not want to be wearing this when you start your walk for the summit. I will cover that in just a moment. You don't want to be wearing this. You want to start off cold. When you then stop for a break, you then quickly pull this out, put it on to keep yourself warm, but before you move off again, you then very quickly take this off and pack it away. I will cover that again in just a moment. But this is a small Goose Down jacket, okay? Okay, this here is what I would call a large Goose Down jacket, okay? Like I said, if you're not into using Goose Down, that's absolutely fine. You can get a synthetic one, but it just doesn't do the job. I haven't done a mountain ever with people where I have never had to give them one of my spare items of warm clothing because they have brought synthetic stuff and it just doesn't cut the mustard, okay? But, you know, each to their own. This is a large goose down jacket. It's about 800 fill. And what I would only use this for is really just the summit. Of course, you do not start walking with this to the summit. You merely pull this out once you get to the summit to keep you warm because it is horrendously cold, okay? Okay, this here is a waterproof jacket, okay? Fully waterproof. This is an essential item. I honestly wouldn't let anyone go up the mountain without one of these. You must make sure that it's waterproof, okay? You get some cheap brands that say they're waterproof and they're not waterproof. So it's essential that you make sure your jacket is waterproof, okay? This here is a perfect top that you can actually wear on your summit attempt as you're walking up, okay? It's not too hot and it is breathable. What I see many people doing, which is completely wrong, is they start off from camp because it's freezing. They will leave camp one wearing one of these, which is the worst thing you could ever do on this type of mountain, on any mountain. If you start off hot, what's going to happen is you're going to instantly start sweating within 2 to 3 minutes wearing that type of jacket. I'm telling you right now, you're then going to make all that jacket wet. Once it's wet, it will then lose its functionality. It will not then keep you warm later on when you most need it, and you will then open yourself up to potentially getting hypothermia, okay? I see people doing it all the time in the mountains because they have no idea how you're supposed to use the gear, okay? So it's very important, guys. In terms of backpack, this is the one I use. This is actually too big, in all honesty. I just have a larger one. This is a 60 litre. All you really need is 35 to 40 litres is perfectly fine for you, okay? This is a 60 litre. I use it because I carry tons of extra gear. I have my own medical kit, first aid kit, so I need that kind of extra space. So that's why I have it. But you don't need one this big. 40 litres is absolutely fine. Inside here, I also have a large canoe bag, or some people call it a dry bag. It's the same thing no matter how you know it. I put this inside the bag, you put all your gear inside here and you fold it up, clip it on, and that will then keep your stuff dry inside, okay? That is an essential bit of gear because the mountains, the weather on the mountains changes instantly. And if your gear gets wet, you are going to be stuffed for the next 2, 3, / maybe even 4 days, okay? This here for water, I think these are essential. This is a camel pack. Obviously, if you have a bottle of water, that's fine, but these are just very, very handy. This is a 3 litre. You could easily get away with a 2 litre. However, I just know myself, and I know that I'm someone who loves to drink tons of water as I go. I don't like to think, oh, scrimp and scrape. So therefore, I bring a 3 litre of water. You could probably get away with saying this is not essential, as long as you have a water bottle, okay? But I just think it's a great piece of kit. You don't need to stop every time you want to drink. You can just drink on the go, okay? Trekking poles. Now, these are an essential piece of kit for when you do the summit attempt only, okay? There are areas where you can use it and it will make your life a little bit easier. However, there are also areas where I personally believe you should not use this. Again, as I said in the disclaimer, this is just for awareness. If you get to these certain locations, which I will show you on the screen, and you decide to use this, then that's perfectly fine. It's all on you, okay? It's your choice. But I will give recommendations of the areas I would use it and where I wouldn't. I would definitely use it from Camp 1 to the summit. Absolutely, because the ground is so soft and it keeps giving away and it really will help you, okay? From base camp up to Camp 1, it's not really essential to use it there. However, you will see a lot of people using it. And if you find that it helps you there, then by all means, carry on. Where I would personally never ever use this, because I think by using it, you open yourself up to more accidents, is actually from campsite 1 down to the lake. The reason for that is the path is all more concrete and it's big rocks and boulders. So if you are shoving this in rocks and boulders, you're actually opening yourself up to slip and fall and you're going to cause yourself an accident. It's far better, in my opinion, if you're coming down from Camp 1 to Sagara Lake, that you come down and you can use your hands to bum yourself down the side of the rocks and stuff, okay? Far better, far safer. Sleeping bag, another essential item. Now, I know that when you hire a guide and porter team, they do bring sleeping bags. However, they bring sleeping bags with a comfort level of around 10 degrees. I do not believe that is good enough. And everyone, whenever I go with friends and I take friends and family up to do these mountains, they always complain that they were freezing cold at night because the sleeping bags just weren't good enough. And if you then do not get a good, comfortable, warm night's sleep, you then open yourself up to not being focused the next day on the track. And when you're not focused, that's when accidents can happen, okay? Again, this is goose down because I'm just a huge believer that goose down is insane. It's just incredible. It does the job that it's intended to do. It keeps you incredibly warm. It packs away down into a tiny little ball, even though now it looks huge. And it's just an incredible piece of kit. I just believe in it so much. If you have a synthetic sleeping bag, that's absolutely fine. However, I would recommend that your comfort level is around 0 degrees and not 10 degrees, okay? Another piece of kit is the inflatable mattress. Yes, again, your guides and porters will include a mattress in your package. However, I've never ever found it to be good enough. Even the leather mats, they are solid, really horrible to lie on. You feel every lump and bump on the path. You do not get a comfortable night's sleep. And if you have the thin ones, they are even worse. So I would bring my own air inflatable mattress, okay? Yes, they will be provided for you, mattresses, but I would bring my own. If I was you, I would bring my own inflatable air mattress. You are guaranteed then a good night's sleep. So coming up here then is the gaiter. Many people do not know what gaiters are if you're not part of the kind of mountain or trekking community, okay? One of these goes on each leg. If you look here, you will see that there is a hook and there is a strap. This strap goes underneath your foot. So if this is the back of my heel, this strap goes in here. If this is the front of my shoes, this is how it goes on. The strap goes underneath your boot. This here, this little metal pin goes on your laces. You then pull it up your leg and you wrap it around. So it looks like this. Now the purpose of this is that when you're doing the summit attempt, it will stop all the volcanic ash going down your shoe, which will cut you to pieces. It's like loads of black coral. That's essentially what it's like, okay? And if that gets down your boot, it's just gonna cut your feet to shreds. That's why gaiters are really essential. Tons of people do it without it, but it will make your life 100% easier if you have them, okay? If you don't have them, then no biggie, you're just gonna have to put up with it. Next essential item is gloves. Now, in all honesty, I have worn these multiple times to Rinjani, and the reason why I'm showing you them is that I would say that these are not sufficient, okay? I've just been living in Indonesia for a very long time, and the gloves that you need for Mount Rinjani, the big ones, you can't buy them anywhere in Indonesia because it's a warm country, okay? So I do have a friend bringing me a set over from Scotland next week, thank God. But they'll keep you semi-warm. They do a decent job, but they are not ideal, okay? Yes, you can wear them, but they're not ideal. After that, we have got the head over, okay? You just pull it over your head and it's gonna cover your face and it will stop the wind from blasting off your face. Again, not essential, but it really will help you and it will make your life so much easier. This here is also, I personally think it's an essential item, not for you as an individual, but I personally believe that all guide companies should have at least one of these type of sets. This is my first aid kit, okay? And I take this everywhere. I take it to the mountains, jungles, campsites. Even if I'm not going anywhere, I take it in my car in case I come across a road traffic accident and I can help someone. This here is a splint, so when you fold it out, if someone has a broken arm, you simply put their arm through here, you wrap it around, you zip it up, and then you blow in the straw. It's going to then inflate, and it works as a splint to keep their arm nice and straight. If they have small legs like me, you could also use it on their legs. Here we have a tourniquet if someone has an artery bleed. We have a first field bandage. It's similar to what's used in the military. And here, I'm not going to take them out, but we have gauze. Okay, in fact, I'll just show you it. Celox gauze, okay? Now what that does is, it's actually derived from shellfish. However, if you have a shellfish allergy, you do not need to worry, the allergen has been taken out of it, okay? Now what that does is, if you have a broken bone, which then pierces one of your arteries, you will bleed out in around 2 to 3 minutes. If I was to stuff this inside your wound and pack it tightly, this would stop your artery bleed in seconds. It's a phenomenal piece of kit and it is a real life changer, okay? I have other things in here like gloves, scissors, bandages, tourniquets, physiotherapy tape, and the likes, okay? Now, you're probably not going to have this. However, I do believe it's essential that guides should have at least one of these per team. Okay, next essential item is a head torch. This is essential. You must bring this with you, okay? This one has various settings where it flashes for strobe, and it also has a built-in SOS, okay? Now, you really don't need that. However, you do need a head torch. If you have one which is changeable batteries, then you must have fresh batteries in it plus backup spare batteries just in case, okay? If, like me, you have a rechargeable one, you must make sure that you bring a large enough power bank that's able to recharge your head torch if you're going to be staying there for 3 or 4 days. Normally, I don't need to charge this, but just in case you forget to turn this off, which many people do when it's sunlight, you're going to run out of battery, right? So now here we have 3 types of radios, okay? These 2 are the same. This one is slightly different. I will explain. Whenever I go trekking and people come along with me and whichever Indonesian tour guide company I'm using, what I'll do is I will give each and every person one of these radios. It means that you can talk to me if you need to ask where I am, or you need to tell me, Ryan, I need a little break. Can you guys wait on us? That's fine. Now, I'll come back to these in a second. Many people complain, especially with this thing that just happened to the Brazilian, saying, oh, the guide should never leave you alone. Well, when people say that, I know that they have never ever been on a trek in their life, because it's just impossible, no matter what mountain you're in, for the guide to be with every single person each moment in time. It's impossible. Now, I know you're probably thinking, well, why don't you just make the fastest person go to the rear and the slowest to the front? You're actually putting those people in dangerous positions, and I will explain why. It is based on exertion. If you have someone who is naturally a fast walker and he's belting off, he will not be breaking a sweat. His body will be nice and warm, but he's just naturally fast on the mountain. He has good leg muscles and he's taken off and he's still not sweating. His body is keeping him nice and warm, okay? His heart rate is keeping his body nice and warm. If you're to pull that fast walker back to the speed of the slowest person, he is not even going to generate enough heat and blood flow around his body to keep him warm. You're then risking that fast walker to get hypothermia, okay, which is not on. Opposite to that, if you beast the guy who's naturally slow and having a real hard time and saying, hurry up, get to the front, catch up, you're going to make him rapidly increase his heart rate, which is going to then make him sweat. His clothes are then going to become wet. He is then going to run the risk of hypothermia. So this is why you have these spreads in the teams, okay? It's impossible for guides to stay with people. And that's the same on any mountain, not just Rinjani, okay? So to counteract that, I give each person a radio and I tell them these are not for talking willy-nilly. These are simply for saying, okay, radio check. I can't see you guys because it's maybe 1 o'clock in the morning. It's dark. I'm here. Can any of you see me? Yes, I'm literally 2 meters behind you. The head torch, which is flashing now, is me. Okay. And that person instantly feels safe and comfortable and secure. Okay. Now, the difference between these 2 and this one here, this is the one that I carry on my person. This has digital, so I could literally talk to someone in Scotland as long as they're using digital on this. It also has analog, VHF and UHF. These ones have a radius of 10 kilometers, which is perfectly fine for talking to people in the group. This one here has a radius of 40 kilometers, which means that I can talk to base camp and I can help people if they need it, okay? That's why I have the 2 different types. So this here is what I would class as a non-essential item. It is a little jet ball cooker. It's non-essential because normally when you do Rinjani, the guides and porters will cook all your meals, make all your drinks, blah, blah, blah. I like to take this because if you get to the summit and you're like, oh God, we've got here early, we have maybe 40 minutes to wait, at that point you can get your warm kit on, you can put your waterproof jacket on if it starts to rain, you can get a jet boil on the go, okay, and you can make yourself some hot drinks. So it's not essential, but this will make your life a lot easier. And if you see someone struggling at the summit, you know, trying to keep warm, you can always then make someone else a nice warm drink and heat them up. So guys, that is it for this part of the talk. I'm gonna very quickly jump across. I'm gonna play my YouTube video. I'm gonna briefly discuss the certain locations in different areas of the mountain, which you can expect to see when you get there. And I'm gonna share my opinion of where you could be using trekking poles and where I would recommend that you don't. However, like I said, it's entirely up to you. This is the terrain here heading up from kind of base camp up to campsite 1. You can see the path here is quite fine. It's a little bit rocky. You would never really use your trekking poles here, although I wouldn't be surprised if you see some people doing it. But there's no need. You can clearly see there is no need for it, okay? Look, you can see right here, it's all rocky, okay? You can see my friend Jimmy here is using his trekking poles. However, Jimmy would use his trekking poles going from the kitchen to his bathroom at home. You would never use trekking poles here in a million years, okay? Jimmy just loves it. You can see here, look, it's actually a really bad idea because it's rocks everywhere. So when you're putting them into the rocks, you're opening yourself up to have a fall, and then your hands aren't free. So I would never in a million years use trekking poles here, like my friend Jimmy. However, like I said, it's on you, okay? It's at your discretion. If you feel they would help you, you crack on. But you can see here the terrain, he's already stopped using them. You see, the terrain does not warrant using trekking poles. Now, as you come up past camp post 3, you will see the path start to clear up, and it then becomes more ash-like, which I will show you here. Here we go. You can see it here. The path becomes a lot more muddy and ash-like. I personally still wouldn't use trekking poles here. However, if you wish to, then by all means, feel free. Here you can see it's a nice clear day. However, the weather comes in like that on Mount Rinjani. This is campsite 1. And that was the way up to the summit just there that you saw. Look at the clag coming in now. You can see how quickly. There's a warm hat, warm gear. You know, you don't need anything extreme here, but it does get cold, okay? You can see me, I've now put on my large rab jacket and my waterproof jacket at campsite 1 because it does get freezing cold, okay? This is how dark it gets at night time. All you can see is head torches, look. That is all you can see. Now, the path itself is huge. I know we've had instances where people falling. I don't know how the Brazilian girl fell, but previously when other people fall, it's normally from their own error when they go to take selfies, and instead of looking at the path, stopping and then taking the selfie, what people tend to do is they'll hold their phone and they'll move around to get the best position, then they'll fall, and then, you know, we have a huge tragedy / emergency on our hands, all right? I'm not saying the Brazilian girl did that. I don't know what happened to her, but that's, in general, when people fall here, that's usually where it's from. But you can see how dark it is. This is why I love to give my guys a radio for communication, because if they look down at the mountain trying to see me, because I always go at the end to make sure there's no one, no stragglers, all they're going to see is head torches. So it just gives them a nice warm feeling to say, Ryan, it's Steve, are you there? Yes, mate, I can see your backpack. I'm 2 minutes behind you. Ah, okay, great. And it makes people feel comfortable, right? Knowing that you have their back. This is the sunrise starting to come up now. You can see it's beautiful. This here is what's called letter E. I would definitely use your trekking poles on this part. This is all black volcanic ash as you're going to the summit, and you will see it in the next video when we're coming back down. So here we go. If you have a look here, this is exactly what it looks like in the daytime. This is the summit attempt, what they call letter E. You can see the track is huge, okay? You could get a car up there. Just don't ever go to the right. Look, if you need to go anywhere, you don't want to go to the left either. You really want to stay on the path, and it's massive. However, don't ever go to the right-hand side, okay? Ever. That's where you then fall down these kind of ravines. Here it is here, look. Here is the track here, all the way down. You can see it gets a little, that looks tiny there, okay? You have to remember, this is a drone, which is way up in the air. That track is probably wider than this, okay? It's massive. But this is the route you would travel up, and this is the whole way that you would use the trekking poles, all right? Look, as you can see here. I actually don't use them on the way back down because I think they give you a hindrance. You know, you can slide. I prefer to slide coming down. However, look, many people do use them, all right? And this is the track. Look at the size of it, the track that you have to go up. Normally, people wait around here. If you get to the summit area too early, right? I'm going to pause this now. What happens is people normally wait around here, okay? People normally wait in this area or this area here because you're out the way of the wind, and everybody just kind of huddles down with their warm clothes on, has a hot drink, and you wait here to prepare to move up to the summit for the sunrise, okay? Don't worry if you don't make it, because as you come up here, you will see the sun rising anyway. So you might not make the summit, but you will see the sunrise from this path, so don't worry, okay? Here we are now heading down from campsite 1 down to campsite 2, which is the lake, which is called Sagara Anak, okay? I personally wouldn't use trekking poles here. Look at the path, look. It's kind of thin, it's muddy, it's solid. Now this is where a Swiss guy and a Dutch, I think it was a woman, fell just 2 weeks ago. It's quite hard to fall from here, guys. Now, again, I don't know what happened. When I saw the photograph of them, I did see trekking poles laying right beside them. And I said to the head of Mount Rinjani National Park, if he used the trekking poles there, that's exactly why he fell, okay? Now, I don't know if that's the case. I'm just saying that was the first thing that sprung to mind. When I saw the trekking poles, I thought, if you're using trekking poles here, look, it's all boulders. Look, there's Jimmy. Jimmy's just put his sticks away because it's all boulders, look. Why would you use trekking poles here? You're just going to set yourself up for failure. It's much better. I wouldn't even hold them in my hand because now you've got one hand that you can't use. I would pack them away and then you've got two hands. Look, you've got two hands that you can use to come down at all times. And you're going to be very safe. This is not safe. We're going to be heading down to that area. So you can see, look, it's all boulders, all right? I'm going to move on. It's all the same stuff. Here, this is where you can also wear the canoe shoes or the Vibram barefoot shoes that I wear. You can use these for the river crossing if you wish. It just stops your feet potentially getting cut in the rocks. This time we did it barefoot. It's perfectly fine to do it barefoot, as you can see. But there is a point where you need to get wet to go to the campsite, all right? So bear that in mind. We just cracked on, as you can see here. This here is the hot springs. Now this part is quite deep, you can swim. If it's raining when you get there, this will be cold. If it's not raining, this will actually be very warm like a bath, and it is phenomenal, okay? But these are great if you want to wear your little shoes. This is exactly where I wear them. Do not forget to bring sun cream. I did not take sun cream this time round, and my face swelled up. I looked like, have you ever saw the episode of Bear Grylls where he got stung by a wasp and his eyes just closed up? Well, that's exactly how I looked, just because I didn't have sun cream. Rookie mistake on me. This here is another hot springs, guys. This is phenomenal. It's not very deep. You can see the water bubbling out. You can see the steam. It's about 30 to 40 degrees. It's really warm. It's absolutely glorious, okay? So what I always recommend to my guys is when we're coming down from the lake, always have a pair of swimming shorts to hand, or either wear them underneath your trousers so that when we get here, you can just quickly take them off and jump in, okay? One thing I would recommend for these hot springs, do not spend too much time in them, 5 to 10 minutes maximum. I even think 10 minutes is too long. The reason being, anytime I take people and they keep saying to me, I want to stay in longer, and they stay for 10, 15 minutes plus in the warm water, when they come out, they're absolutely exhausted. It's like being in a nice warm bath at home and you're like, oh, you've just got no energy left, okay? And from here, you have got about another 4-hour to 5-hour walk to get home to base camp, okay? So it's not a good idea to be lying in this for too long and get lazy and lethargic and you can't be bothered moving, because you have a big walk ahead of you after this, okay? Jump in, 5-10 minutes, no worries, back out. This area here coming down through Torrent, there is cold. This water here is nice and cold. As you go further round to the right hand side, there is a large enough area where you can go in and swim here, and it is nice and freezing cold. So if you find yourself in a situation where you have spent too much time in the hot springs and you feel that you are lazy, lethargic, and you've got no energy, I would highly recommend just wait till you get here, jump in the freezing cold water and wake yourself back up, okay? You can see here, the path is all rocks. So again, I would not be using trekking poles here. If you think they're going to help you, you crack on. However, I actually think using stuff like trekking poles in these environments makes you more prone to having an accident. If you need to use one, then use one and have one hand spare in case you fall. You will see sometimes on the Mount Rinjani videos there is a thin green track with a big rope, which you're about to see in a moment. You also get areas where you have to use a ladder. That's fine. We've all used ladders before. There's about 3 or 4 areas like that. This part here, you can see the track is quite small and it runs around the side of the mountain. It handrails the mountain, okay? Now, you want to stay to the left. If you ever feel yourself going to fall or trip, you don't want to be aiming for the right, you want to be aiming for the left. Not that it happens, I'm just giving you hints and tips, okay? Look at the path here, okay? It's quite small. However, it is perfectly safe, okay? Just stay, keep your body weight to the left. Do not put your body weight to the right. Here's a good view of it right here. Okay, look. So this is what you're up for, okay? And it handrails around the mountain. There are parts where you will see a white rope that you need to hold on to, okay? Just hold on to the rope as you walk past, that's all it is. Some people make it look a bit worse. I don't know if they're trying to do it for clickbait to make people watch their videos, but they'll be holding the rope, pretending that, oh my God, it's scary. It's just nonsense. It's not like that whatsoever. You can literally hold the rope and walk, okay? They're probably just doing it to get more views. And this is like the path here, all right? This is the route called Torian. Here we have the beautiful waterfall. This is spectacular. You guys are absolutely gonna love it here. Just be very careful. When you get to the edge, there is a sheer drop, okay? I don't think anyone's had any accidents there. However, you always have to edge on caution, all right? You don't want people putting a fence there because then it ruins the whole experience, right? Now, this is the final part of the leg where you come down back through and it's jungle, okay? It is a jungle track. If you step on the roots are extremely slippery and you probably will fall, okay? You can use trekking poles there if it helps you. I don't bother, but if you think it's going to help you there, it's okay. There's only really the areas that are all rocky that I would recommend that you didn't use trekking poles, but it's at your discretion, okay? As I said at the beginning of the video, the disclaimer is my video here is to simply bring awareness, education, hints and tips to make your life much nicer, much more comfortable, and much more safer, predominantly, when you're on your trip to Mount Rinjani. If you do not have the essential items, it's not up to me whether you can go up or down the mountain. That will be up to the people at base camp. However, if I was them, would make you sign a waiver to say there are some essential items here that I don't have. I am happy to take the risk, of hypothermia or this or that. All right. But one thing I would say as well is that I would recommend that you check your medical and travel insurance. Okay. Now, even if you are saying to yourself, yeah, it's fine, I already know that my travel insurance covers mountains, you must check that it covers mountains over 3,000 meters, because some insurance companies don't. Mount Rinjani is 3,726 meters. So if your insurance does not cover any mountain above 3,000 meters, it doesn't even matter if your accident happens at 1,800 meters. It will not cover you, because that mountain itself is over 3,000 meters, okay? So please make sure that there are no clauses in your insurance which does that, and make sure that you are fully covered. There are Bally helicopters nearby that if your insurance covers it, they can come in, get you out if a helicopter is required, and if not, there is a SAR team which will come and extract you by hand, okay? I'm Ryan Mack, this is Bule Bolang. I wish you have a great trip. I do not accept any responsibility for anything that happens on your trip. This is merely for education purposes and awareness for you, nor does the Mount Rinjani National Park or the country of Indonesia, okay? It is all on you. I wish you a good trip. Please don't be put off visiting Mount Rinjani. It is one of the most incredible mountains and experiences you will ever have in your life, and I highly recommend anyone to come and try it. Minimum fitness requirements. If you're watching this thinking, am I fit enough? Minimum fitness requirements is you should be able to walk 3 kilometers or jog 3 kilometers within 30 minutes to 40 minutes, okay? That is perfectly easy. If you're sitting watching this thinking, oh my God, I could never do that, I would say do not even attempt to hike Mount Rinjani. A second fitness test would be if you can walk 5 kilometers carrying a 10 kilogram backpack in an hour to an hour and 20 minutes, which is very easy to do, then you are perfectly fine. If you're worried hearing that and thinking to yourself, there's no way I could do that, then there is no way that you can hike Mount Rinjani without injuring yourself or putting other people, like the search and rescue team, at danger. Okay, so listen, have a safe trip. I'm Ryan Mack. My channel is Bule Bolang if you wish to watch the full video and really see what you're up against. Okay, so be prepared, have fun, stay safe.